souls. Hi, we're back.
Hi.
Back for another holy session of communing with God.
Who's this queen?
Well, this just in. So the LDS Church has increased their land holdings. They're buying thousands of acres of farmland across 8 states. They have like a nonprofit arm of the Mormon Church is paying $289 million to like snatch up all this farmland and then lease it to farmers. And so I would say now's the time to invest in like farmland.
Do they have the heads up?
Yeah, they certainly do.
Do they know something's coming?
I mean, everyone is like
That's
farmland's
that thing you
like a
told
big.
me about though.
Yeah, I mean, this is a trend.
The grab.
Exactly. But now the LDS Church is also getting in on it. Farmland is about to be essential. I mean, it already is, but it's about to be like the next frontier. It's like agriculture, food shortages. I'm seeing a lot of TikTokers there's one in particular who bought a farm, because right now you can also buy farmland from farmers for pretty reasonable.
I actually have read about that.
Yeah, because they want to sell it to like
young people.
They don't necessarily want to sell it to like corporations or the LDS Church.
They don't want to send it to like Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a good time in the market for younger people who have a farm, an interest in farming and acres to get in there. I love a farm.
Freaks me out a little.
A farm does?
No, just this like trend.
Well, yeah.
It's expected and it's like not surprising, but it still gives me a little like chill down my spine.
Mm-hmm. Get your farmland before it's too late.
LDS farms.
Well, they're going to just own they own the land, they lease it out, but you still like make money off of that.
I will never forget when I stayed in that Airbnb in Utah for the eclipse last year, and we were on an LDS campground, and there was like a whole like thing happening at this retreat house like nearby, and I saw these kids, and it was spooky. And I think they just owned that whole like mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
The Mormons.
Just like I think they owned all the land, but like we were like right below one of the mountains. I think they just owned like the canyon. And I was like, damn, they are sitting pretty in Utah.
But that's at every church, like major church, like Catholicism. It's all about like a real estate portfolio.
Mm-hmm. God wants real estate.
God wants you to invest.
God wants acreage.
He wants acreage for you, gorgeous properties. I mean, Scientology also has like a huge real estate portfolio.
I know. I was actually thinking about them because I know Clearwater got hit by Hurricane Milton. So I was like, damn.
I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah. They've got insurance.
Also crazy because I'm just now realizing none of these places have to pay taxes because they're religion. So then you just get to like, you get to truly just live, laugh, love, and you never pay a tax. That's wild that that's a law.
That's Scientology. I mean, this is older. This is at least like, I mean, but it's still a pretty young religion, Mormonism, like in comparison to the other religions. But Scientology, the fact that they don't pay taxes, it blows my mind.
Like we could just technically, I mean, I think Kris Jenner has a church that she operates under.
What? To get like tax write-offs?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Kanye did, right? Didn't he have a church?
Yeah, but I think that you can just like start a church. Church of Larz coming soon. Watch this space.
The Jenners are certainly, Jenner Kardashian clan is certainly clued into like.
They're farming.
For sure.
Or they have
Kim is also like BFF with Ivanka now. They're always together.
Yeah.
And then Lauren Sanchez.
She said, I want the heads up.
Ivanka was like, I'm saddling up to these people.
They're a heads up crew, if there ever were one. They're the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse. Kim, Ivanka, and Sanchez. You see them coming, you know that
I know. Oh my God, you're
The price
so right.
of bread is skyrocketing.
I saw they were in a pictures recently as like last week. All of them at some gala. It might have been the Academy Gala or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I was like, this is Illuminati.
So I'm just saying, if you've thought about being a farmer, I'm going to give you a heads up right now and say, just do it. Nike style. Just go farm, girl.
Have you go piss girl?
Go piss, girl.
Have you thought about it?
Yeah. I mean, I love bees. To be or not to be, but to be self-sustained, you produce all your own food and you don't depend on having to outsource food or go buy it from somewhere. That's a huge, you're already 5 steps ahead.
But then at a certain point, you're going to have to like procure security, fortify to keep all your food and keep your resources like for yourself.
Well, build a little electric fence.
Yeah.
And get a tiny gun. Then maybe upgrade to a big gun.
I think you're going to need a bigger gun.
But I think also if you're off the grid enough or you're just
people
like
will
out
always
of the
find
fray.
a way. When there's going to be shortages, there will be like roving crews.
I know, but you could just buy, I mean, hopefully, God willing,
Tony.
You get enough money to where you can get a Boston Dynamics dog that has like a scope on it. Yeah. Or a flamethrower. And then that really solves a lot of problems.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. Always patrolling, get a crew of them patrolling all night.
And they just set people on fire.
They just fully set people on fire.
Try to come to your farm.
They give you a warning at first that says, like, you are on private property. You have 30 seconds to get off before the flames.
Maybe they shoot one, like a warning flame, just like a little, just like in your direction. And you're like, you feel the heat on you, the blast of heat. And you're like, whoa, they're serious. But I'm going to continue like on this path. And then you get closer. That's when they go.
You're crispy.
You're crisp. You are burnt to a crisp.
Yeah. That's how I roll on the Larz farm. I have to keep Tony away from those dogs. He would not like them.
He'd be jealous.
But I'm just saying, like, now's the time to farm. Don't wait. I'm in a place of waiting.
This is a Sex Unique PSA.
Warning.
The shortages are coming soon. Go farm, girl.
In our lifetime, we'll see them, and
Farms
you will
or shortages,
and then you're in the back of your mind, you'll be like, Lara was right.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I know.
Your friend definitely has a heads up.
100.
You need to like link up with him about that.
I'm farm curious. Bees, goats. I love a goat. Love chickens.
If it was if it was essential of me to do it, I would toil.
By that time, it's too late.
But I'm saying, if I need to, like, I will toil. Like I'm.
By the time you need to, it will be too late.
Well, let's imagine that I'm like, there's a farm waiting for me. I can like commit to it.
I love that.
I've gutted a house before.
For Habitat for Humanity?
No, my grandfather died and we gutted his house.
They like ripped it down?
Ripped all the bathtubs out, ripped all the shit out. My two cousins and I, one of them dead.
You're strong.
I am.
So you could do physical labor.
Simon knows how to do everything.
Yeah.
So I would just be like.
You would need to be a firm hand directing you. Showing you the ropes. You need to be watched for.
I am very domestic, though. I'm really good at cleaning, so I would keep clean. I'd keep everything really clean. I'd Swiffer.
Swiffering on the farm is probably on the lower end of things that the responsibilities that need to be done.
Throw me one bone.
Okay, your Swiffering on the farm will incredibly help the crops. I don't know how, but we will
And
say
just
for these purposes,
just my joie de vivre will also
nothing like a gay joie de vivre to help the vegetables grow.
or just like the integrity of the
cows
farm,
get milked.
the sort of like the liveliness. Like we're gonna need like
Girl,
we're gonna need jokes. We're gonna need
right
some
now
levity.
is you're selling yourself to be a farmhand, and anyone listening in the apocalypse will be like, thank God he's not on my farm. You should sell yourself on your strength, your
I'm a
ability.
strong, tall man, and I'm athletic, and I can.
You can shovel.
I can shovel shit.
And you can chop wood.
Yes, but I'm not like I don't have vision in terms of like
You're not going to
building. But give me a shovel and some hammers and wood shit. I'll chop your little brains out.
I think chopping and shoveling.
And like
you could feed chickens. I think I could see
so
you
if I utilize my
hogs.
strength and height and my bon vivant, I'll be a package deal on a farm. People will be talking about me at all the apocalypse farms are like, this guy down the way.
You're like interviewing for a position of indentured servitude on the apocalypse farm in 2029, and they're like, what are you going to bring to the table?
I wear my retainer every night. I have good teeth.
You go, I have great teeth. I will Swiffer. I have a good attitude. Are you ready for this? And they go, no. Move on. You'll go through a few interviews before you realize, okay, now we're cooking with gas.
I've got a lot in me.
Believe in him.
When I was gutting my grandfather's house, who by the way was not the best grandfather, I had just come out, and my mom, God bless her, she went, get in there and use your hands. She was like, literally like, be manly.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I did.
Yeah.
My cousin and our older cousin, who's not with us anymore, but he led the charge. It was a good bonding moment.
Construction. Put you in some overalls.
What about you, miss?
What? I grow plants. I know how to water stuff. I can grow plants. I can.
Listen to her over
get
here
in the
being like,
soil.
she's like, you need to really procure your spot. I'm like, okay, Miss Green Thumb.
Girl, I do have the green
you live
thumb.
in West Hollywood.
I have a whole patio of
Juliet
thriving
balcony.
plants on the balcony.
Okay.
Girl, don't fuck with me because my family are a family of farmers. I come from a line of farmers. All the way back to Russia. That came here
from a line of
farmed.
My relatives all
Swiffered.
No, they were in the Irish potato famine, bitch. And
not a selling point. I will say that. I would say when you go into the interview.
And my great grandfather was a union guy who went and
don't bring that up either in the farm apocalypse
on behalf of the union. So I'm tougher than you think.
No one's negating your toughness. Just said don't lead with the Swiffer.
Well, this is all good for what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, so...
Because these people were all about having to get the heads up.
I'm Lara.
I'm Carey.
And you're listening to
Sexy, Unique Bible Study. Book of Exodus.
We are in Exodus. We have...
certainly are.
Plowed through Genesis, and we are now in the second book of the Bible. And... Exodus opens and the Israelites are really oppressed.
They are. No one has been more oppressed than
at this point we know of.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure actually people have been more oppressed, but now they're recording it.
The recorded history.
So Joseph and all his cohorts died off. And the Israelites were very fruitful. They were multiplying, living, laughing, fucking.
They were his descendants were prospering. Like they became A-list.
Yeah, and also we have to remember that Joseph brought all his like family over to Egypt and was like, "You're good, even though you tried to kill me. Get over here." And
they love me here.
Now you have everything that you could ever want.
But all the Egyptians that had fond feelings towards Joseph and his people, they're all dead too. So the newer Egyptians, as generations go on, they're like, I don't like these people.
They're like, there's so many of them. And,
they're in our land. Why are we like coexisting with them?
So the new Pharaoh in town decides that it's time to force all the Israelites into slavery.
Naturally.
So, and not only that, but he gathers a couple Hebrew midwives and he's like, look, anytime a boy baby is born, you have to kill it, but you can let the girls live.
That is so sick to force the midwives to like smother the children and put them in rivers.
But the midwives, they didn't do it. They were like, they just like let the boys live. And then the Pharaoh was like, what the fuck? I gave you clear instructions to kill boy babies. And the midwives go, Hebrew women are too vigorous. They give birth before we even arrive.
And he goes, okay, well, now I have a new policy where anytime there's a firstborn son is born, you have to throw them into the fucking Nile and drown them, which is also reminiscent of Jesus' story with King Herod, who was also killing Jewish boys by throwing them into the river.
People love
to
throw babies in the river.
They really do.
This is when the Bible starts getting kind of dark.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's upset about this.
This is also like, this is taking place over like hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So this is like, at the time Moses comes into frame, the Israelites have been slaves for like 430 years. So it's been like half a millennium, basically.
A long time.
Yeah.
So Moses is born.
Jesus was seen.
And his mom was like, I'm going to keep him around, try my best. But she really could only hang on to him for 3 months before she was like, everyone's going to know that he's a boy. So she puts him in a basket and then just like kind of nestles him into the banks of the Nile River. And then his sister stood by to like see what would happen. And I just loved thinking of like his older sister being like, I'm an only child now.
I know.
This fucking rocks.
I was imagining like Kim in the hedge, the bushes, that meme of her going like this. And then she sees, just when she thinks like, fuck, he's like, who knows if he's going to live or not. She sees Pharaoh's daughter and her handmaidens like helping her bathe in the Nile. And she's like having like an erotic, sensual bathing moment in the river. And lo and behold, this little baby boat comes up. And she's like, oh my God, I love this thing.
She's, oh, that is so cute.
That is such a cute baby. But I don't want to take care of it or breastfeed it because I want to keep my body. But like, you can do it, to one of her nurses.
Find a Hebrew woman to like feed this thing and like raise it. And when it's like trained, give it back to me and I'll take care of it. I'll adopt him.
Classic, like 1%er.
The original surrogacy.
I know.
So Pharaoh's daughter ends up like adopting Moses and she names him Moses.
Which means like drew him out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So Moses grows up to be sort of like in the royal family, but he knows he's a Hebrew, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of kept low key. Like it's like a weird, like open secret kind of thing.
He's caught in the middle.
But he's a Nepo baby. Like he's definitely reaping the benefits of being like basically the grandson of the Pharaoh. So one day he goes out to like, he's curious and he wants to go like watch his people and like, what are they up to?
He
And
wants to go like watch them be enslaved.
Yeah. And like they're getting beaten and like, it's just, they're toiling, they're getting bricks and sticks and it's just horrible. And he's like, damn, couldn't be me. Sucks for them.
He sees an Egyptian man beating a Hebrew. So then Moses, in a fit of rage, kills the Egyptian and like hides him in the sand. And so then the next day, he's like walking around. He's like, that was crazy, but hopefully I'll see some better things like when I walk around in like the Hebrew land. And he's walking around and he sees two Hebrews fighting and he tries to stop them. And they're like, what? Are you going to kill us? Like you killed that Egyptian yesterday? And then Moses is like, fuck, everyone knows.
Word is out.
Yeah, everyone knows I'm a cold-blooded killer. He gets really paranoid.
Prince Moses killed a guard. So everyone's like, shit. And it gets back to Pharaoh.
And Pharaoh's like, we're going to kill Moses. Go kill him. But
which I didn't know because I watched like The Prince of Egypt, the cartoon.
That was about Joseph.
No, it wasn't. It was about Moses. The movie Prince of Egypt was about that, like Val Kilmer voiced Moses.
Oh, that was Moses.
The Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey song.
Why did I think that was about Joseph?
Because they did call him a prince of Egypt.
Okay.
But he
was like the true prince of Egypt.
Yeah. But I thought like the way I thought Exodus was that Moses always thought he was Egyptian his whole life and that like Pharaoh was his dad and then him and Ramesses were brothers, but that was a movie. I didn't know that.
Was
like
that in the Prince of Egypt?
Yeah, it's like they grow up together. They're both like the princes. Ramesses is like the heir and Moses is like Harry, Prince Harry. And then he realizes he's actually Hebrew and then goes on like an existential crisis quest to the desert.
Why am I literally sitting here after watching Prince of Egypt my entire childhood being positively convinced that it was about Joseph this entire time? Even going so far as to like remember scenes from it as like Joseph's story.
You're having like Mandela effect.
I fully Mandela affected myself with the Prince of Egypt.
It's Prince of Egypt, by the way, is a great movie.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
I might have to rewatch it.
So Moses skips town because he's like, my dad wants me dead. I killed a man. Like, I've got to get out of here.
His mom kind of fell off. The Pharaoh's daughter.
Yeah, she was like always 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I think. She was like, he's cute, but like someone else deal with him.
He ran away to Midian, which is on the Midian, on the outskirts of town to sit by a well, as one does.
And he like helps give a random flock of sheep some water and it makes a good impression on their owner. So the owner invites him over for dinner and then it makes such a good impression that the owner's like, here's my daughter, Zipporah, and marry her.
Yeah, this man turns out to be like a local
legend.
A local legend named Jethro. And he's like, Moses, you're so iconic. Like, please fuck my daughter. Mm-hmm. And he's like, sure.
Okay.
So they get married and they give birth to a son named Gershom.
Yeah, which means like stranger in a strange land or something.
A foreign, yeah.
And then...
Great name for your child, by the way.
Gershom.
No, just a stranger, like a foreigner in a foreign land.
But I think you like named your child like they were just like tools of storytelling for you. Much like today. Like...
That's
similar
true.
to today. So Moses is like, this kid's gonna reflect like my vibes.
Yeah.
So the king of Egypt dies. And then God, who's I guess been sleeping this entire time, perks up and he's like, here's the Israelites groaning and crying about their fucked up existence. And he's like, God, they have it bad. I got to do something about this.
Well, he's like, shit, I made that promise with Abraham.
Like 400 years ago?
Even longer than that. He's like, oh yeah. They're like literally like, can you free us, bitch?
They're like, God, we are slaves. Our lives are horrible. Please help us.
Take this
for
moment.
400 years. And then he's like,
oh.
There was something. Oh yeah. Okay. He goes, don't worry, I got you.
He's like, I'm going to make Moses do all my dirty work.
Took him long enough.
I know. So one day Moses is out tending to Jethro's flock and he saw a burning bush and he had like a full like Vietnam flashback, I think, to like killing the Egyptian. And he was like, oh God, so he thought it was like psychosis. And the bush was like, no, bitch, it's me.
The bush is burning, but not burning at the same time. Yeah, so it's like on fire, but not actually being destroyed. So he's fully like tripping balls.
And he's like, no, it's me, God. Listen, you have to go back to Egypt. You have to save your people because I'm lazy and metaphysical. And he goes, now take off your sandals and let me see those feet. And Moses was like, no free feet.
He tells him he's seen all the misery of the Hebrews in Egypt. And he's like, you're going to rescue them and take them to the promised land.
Of milk and honey. The land of Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites,
and Jebusites. Jebusites are my favorite. Jebusites.
I like Hittites.
So Moses is like, why are you doing this to me? ? Like, I am not the one. Like, don't ask me to do this. I'm like an idiot. Like he was like, I'm truly feeble-minded and I can't speak.
He's also like, they hate me. Like I've literally slept with the enemy basically. Like I was a nepotism kid my whole life. I was like in the oppressor's family. Like I killed someone. Like they all hate me.
And God is like, no, here's what you're going to do. You're going to march up to the Pharaoh and say, let my people go. God was like, here's my plan. You go up to Pharaoh, you say, I need to take the entire clan of Israelites on like a wilderness retreat for 3 days so they can make sacrifices. And when he lets you go, then you're going to actually just bounce. And Moses is like, no one will believe that. Like, what do I even tell them when I get there? I'm going to be like, oh, God wants me to do this. Like, what? And they're going to be like, who's God? Like, what do I say? And God says, tell them I'm with you and I am who I am.
We are who we are. He sings the Kesha song.
He goes full Popeye vibes on him.
And then he goes, I am who I am. Tell them that. And he goes, and Moses is like, okay. But like, how is that going to help anything? And he goes, all right. He goes, take your staff out, your shepherd's staff. And he goes, okay. And he goes, throw it on the ground. And he tosses it on the ground and then it goes, and turns into a snake. And he's like, I can make this shit happen. And he goes, put your hand in your cloak. And Moses puts his hand in his cloak and then his skin is leprous.
He pulls it out and he has a leper hand.
He's like, oh God. He's having a full like schizo.
I think Moses ate like
peyote
berries or something and is having like PTSD schizophrenia.
And he goes, oh, it's fine. He's like, put it back in your cloak. And he puts it out and his hand's fine. He goes, see, I can fuck with the Egyptians. I can make wonders happen. They're going to be freaked out. They're going to see like what actual deity power is. And you will be my vessel. And then Moses literally says, which I thought was funny. He goes, pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else.
He's like, God's like, no. And Moses is like, I really don't know about this. Like, I don't.
I got a good thing going with Zip.
So, yeah, like, I'm just like, ugh. And God's like, trust, bitch. Like, I will make the Egyptians' lives hell until they agree to like let all the Israelites go. And God's like, look, grand finale. If they don't believe you after the cloak and your like weird leper hand, just take a cup of water out of the Nile and pour it on the ground and it'll turn to blood. And then they will have to let you go.
So
Moses literally keeps arguing though.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm too slow and I'm so bad at speaking. And God's like, damn, bitch, can you do literally one thing that I ask you to do?
No, you can't.
He goes, fine, I will send your brother. I'll get your brother Aaron, who's like strong and hot.
And like actually
people like him.
And like in hell.
And he will like be the speaker and I'll just communicate with you. Can you fucking handle that? And Moses is like, okay.
So Moses goes to his father-in-law Jethro, old Jethro.
Old Jethro.
Jethro, I'm just imagining is like, he's like the...
It's only Beverly Hillbillies Jethro for me.
Yeah, and he's like, their house is like the party house, like everyone goes to. Like Jethro has 7 daughters. He's just like, he's a local...
Everyone goes to like rage and do whippets there.
He goes to him and he's like, hey, I have to go see if my people are still alive because their lives are so horrible. They might have all like killed themselves.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, I'm going to go free them if they're there. And Jethro's like, cool.
Good luck with that sounds great.
Yeah.
Go off. So God's like, hurry the fuck up. Like, go to Egypt now. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to make Pharaoh like really hard headed. And he's like, not going to let you go. But don't worry. I'm eventually trust. I'm going to kill his firstborn son. And Moses is like,
God, okay.
Okay. But then the Lord has a moment where he's like fed the fuck up with Moses. He's like, I've literally asked this bitch to do this very easy thing. 17 times. I've straight up spelled it the fuck out for him. And he keeps being like, no. So God's like, I'm going to kill him. I'm killing this idiot. I'm starting over from scratch. So God appears and like tries to kill Moses. But then Zipporah is there and she intervenes by cutting off her son's foreskin and touching Moses' feet with it in front of God. And God was literally like, okay, this bitch is fucking crazy. He was like, no more questions, Your Honor. Like, you've got this.
She says, surely you're a bridegroom of blood to me. And he's like, I was like, What the fuck?
Because Moses, I didn't know you had dick game like that. You got a baddie over here. He goes, this bitch is fucking nuts.
It reminded me of when Jules in Euphoria like cuts herself and then like throws blood on everyone and goes like, you wanna fuck with me?
It's very that. It's also very like doty.
She goes,
she cuts off of her son's force, like a baby's dick skin, and just touches Moses' feet with it in front of God and is like, what were you going to do?
I was like, why is everyone obsessed with Moses' feet? He had really good feet.
I know. He had hot feet.
So then God sends Aaron to go meet him in the desert and they kiss, which I loved that they added that.
Yeah.
They kissed.
They just go, and then they debrief each other. I think they made love. They caress. It was like Menendez brothers style. Moses tells Aaron what's up, and then they're like, okay, let's go to the elders now. So they go to the elders, and the elders are like, sick, like go on and get moving because we're elders and we're also slaves. Like, hurry the fuck up. So then Moses and Aaron go to the Pharaoh, and this is where Moses classically is like, let my people go.
He said, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel says. He goes, let my people go and then let them go have a festival in the wilderness in my name. He's basically like, they need to go have Coachella.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
for 3 days.
For 3 days.
They go, Lana's headlining.
Billie
Eilish.
Frank Ocean finally has gotten his shit together and is headlining on the 3rd day. And
Pharaoh's really? And he goes, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, he's
third
really,
night.
He's
night
full,
3.
And it's actually going to happen. He's not going to back out.
Pharaoh's like,
he's like, and we're going to do burnt offerings. And Pharaoh's like,
no.
Ooh, go fuck yourself.
Not only is Pharaoh like, no, he also tells all his like slave drivers to take away the straw to make bricks, but also to keep the brick quota the same, just to like
make it harder for them.
Make it hard for them. And to like make them turn on Moses. So then all the Israelite slaves are getting fucked with the straw and being forced to still make bricks. And then they're like, Moses, what the actual fuck? Like, you've come back and now we're all getting fucked with because of you.
And Pharaoh's he's like really cunty because he goes, well, the slaves are all like, God, this sucks. You made it so much harder for us. And he goes, well, you should be working harder for your Lord then. He's like, you should be sacrificing. You're being really lazy. Like, he's fucking with them.
Yeah.
He's evil.
And then God is like, just tell the Israelites like XYZ. So Moses repeats God's message to them. And they're like, okay, fuck you. Like, we're literally getting abused.
Yeah, and this whole time, Moses has never actually lived as a slave.
Yeah.
So he's like, they're like, sorry.
You don't really get it.
You
grew up in the palace. That's a good point.
Right? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, he did the thing, but he got them out.
He did the thing.
But like, he
doesn't know what it's like.
He's kind of like cosplaying a little as like,
well, he's just like stepping in.
Mm-hmm. And they're all like several seats.
Yeah. Because we're the ones now having to like make bricks, like find straw. I don't even know where you find straw.
I don't know either. Like, I didn't know bricks were made out of straw.
Me neither.
I thought bricks were like...
just a brick.
In my lizard brain, I'm like, bricks are just exist on their own. There's like a tree of bricks.
I was like, clay.
Clay? Yeah. Clay? Is clay... I don't even want to...
Is clay brick? We don't know.
Then there's like a family tree of Moses, and I just wrote ZZZZZ.
So many names, so much family history. Moses is still being a whiner. He goes back to God and he's like, no one will listen to me. I suck. Like, everyone hates me. And God's like, go back. Like, trust me. I'm going to ruin these bitches' lives.
Also, mind you, at this time, Moses is 80 and Aaron's 83. So they're pretty young in comparison to how
old
people were living back then.
Fucking Noah lived, like 900. Yeah, they're spring chickens in comparison. But they're also like Sleepy Joe a bit.
Yeah.
Like, if an 80 and an 83-year-old came up to me and were saying all this shit, if I was a slave and then this like 83-year-old was doing this shit, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
In Prince of Egypt, they made Moses like hot.
Yeah, I was going to say he was like very young.
Mm-hmm. Moses performs the miracles. He throws the staff into a snake, and then he turns the Nile to blood. And
he turns his staff. So he starts performing the miracles, and he like does the staff thing. But then all the sorcerers, the Pharaoh's like, okay, now my sorcerers are going to come in, and they all could do it too. So I was like, okay, God, like choose a better trick.
He's like, you're doing parlor tricks, basically.
But I will say what did serve cunt is that Moses' staff snake ate everyone else's. And that would be like a little bit, if I were a sorcerer, if I was like the David Blaine of the Pharaoh, I'd be like, that wouldn't sit right with me.
How the fuck did he do that?
So Pharaoh, the snake trick doesn't do anything. Then they turn the full Nile into blood. The fish die.
All the fish dies in it. Their rotten fish corpses smell so bad that no one can. The water becomes like bacteria,
like period blood Nile.
Yeah, and it's just smelly. And then Pharaoh's like, still no.
At this point, like the staff thing, I would also be like, a nice try.
The Nile thing, I'd be like,
get out of town, witch.
Go.
You are a witch. Get the fuck out. But apparently then Pharaoh calls in like the Chris Angel of Egypt, who then also, the mind freak himself, who also turns the Nile into blood. I'm like, okay, God, let's get some better tricks.
Well,
You're God, you know that people can do this.
They do that in Prince of Egypt. The Martin Short and Steve Martin characters are like the two priests, and they pour like
food coloring.
Yeah.
In one area.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, this bitch turned the whole river into blood.
It's rank. There's literally fish bobbing on the surface and no one can drink the water.
Blood on like the shore.
And also it kind of sucks because while this is happening, it's also the water of the Israelites. So they have to like dig in the earth to get their water. So they're like, thanks, Moses.
Yeah.
Nothing's working. So he sends...
Pharaoh says, absolutely not. Like, I don't care about your blood trick. And then, so like, get the fuck out of here.
Then he sends the frogs.
Yeah. Then 7 days go by, and then God's like, all right, what about this?
He sends frogs.
He sends frogs.
Gnats.
But the sorcerers are also able to copy the frog trick.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what the fuck are these sorcerers on about? Because it says frogs just like come from everywhere. They're all over the palace. Like they are swarmed and surrounded by frogs.
This makes me also, I'm like, they had gods too.
I know.
They have magic. They're
so
magic.
Then Pharaoh, after the frogs, he's like, Moses, get over here. I hate these frogs. Like a frog's like sitting on his head. He's like, I hate these frogs. Like you've got to get rid of them. If you get rid of them, I will let you and your people go to Coachella.
He gets rid of them.
And there are dead frogs everywhere and being shoveled into heaps. So now there's just like dead frogs all over the place. As soon as the frogs stop, Pharaoh goes,
get back to work.
He calls Moses. He goes, Moses? Is this Moses? Yeah, this is Pharaoh. You know what I said about letting your people go? It's not happening. I don't want that. Sorry, doll. They have to stay. Click. And Moses is like, what the fuck?
And he like, he like was cackling with his like priestess queens after that. He was like, watch this.
So then
Moses, he's like, yeah, so I'm really thinking of letting you guys go now. And he goes, I'm just kidding. Fuck you. And then Moses is like, all right.
So then God is like,
the gnats.
It's gnat time.
That would get me. Gnats are my...
Like fruit flies or gnats?
Both. Well, he sends flies. He sends gnats first, which are just so annoying.
So the gnats come around and all the dust turns to gnats and everyone is like covered in gnats. It's disgusting. And the sorcerers are like, we actually like cannot replicate this trick. Like this is beyond our capabilities and this actually might be God to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's like, fuck you. It's not.
He fires them.
And he's like, you're still not allowed. Then God's like, you like those gnats? How do you like flies? And then he infests all of Egypt except for Goshen, where the Israelites live, with flies, that would break me.
That's so cunt.
When one even singular flies in my apartment, it torments me.
And Moses was like, or Pharaoh calls him, and he's like almost pushed to the brim about this. And he goes, you need to make a sacrifice to your God to stop this right now.
He goes, let's make a deal. He goes, look, these flies are sick. He goes, why don't you just, here's the thing, go make a sacrifice here in Egypt. Like, you guys don't have to travel. Just do your little sacrifice thing here. And then we'll like call it even. And Moses is like, no, we can't do our sacrifices here because all the Egyptians hate us. They'll kill us. Like, they'll be disgusted by all of our sacrifices. We have to go into the wilderness. Like, there's no deal to be made. And Pharaoh's like, fine, but you cannot go far. You can literally like go 30 feet that way. And then he's like, but get these flies out of here, please. I'm begging you, please.
Get them out of here.
And so Moses is like, okay, as soon as I leave and get back like to my people, I'll pray and make the flies go away.
So he does.
And then Pharaoh's just laughing it up with friends. And
he hired the priestesses back, and he's like, come on back here.
All of his slaves are like cleaning up like all the flies. There's just like piles of flies everywhere. But Pharaoh's finally like getting fanned again by like girls and getting fed grapes. And he's like, you know what? Watch this. He FaceTimes Moses. Moses is like, hey. He goes, hey.
Hey.
Hey, Moses.
How's it going?
Good. Look, all these flies are getting swept up.
Oh, that's great.
Aren't they?
So it worked.
It was so disgusting.
I know. I'm sorry, but we had to do it.
I know. I get that. But you know what? I was really thinking about you going to the wilderness with your people.
Yes.
It's not happening.
No.
No, I'm serious.
Please.
It's not happening. Absolutely not.
Come on.
No, it's not.
I told them, though, they're all going to hate me.
Well, good. They should never have trusted you. It's over for you, doll.
No.
Don't come back here, too.
Please.
Bye. So
the plagues left, and then Moses is like, I feel like Moses activates a little here.
I feel like he didn't. I'm start to blame Moses eventually because I'm like, this man is not communicating clearly enough with Pharaoh because Pharaoh. So Moses goes, God's like, all right, now livestock plague.
That scared me.
And all the Egyptians' livestock dies.
And then they're all like wailing, they're all like screaming, and then he's like, now you're gonna get boils.
Yeah, Pharaoh's still, after the livestock, every animal dies. Pharaoh's still like, no, you can't go. Then boils.
Everyone gets cystic acne, which I've had acne. It's hard.
Boils are not cystic acne.
I know. I'm making like
boils are like pustules, huge festering
giant boils that like pop and like bloody pus comes out and you get infected. It's cysts. So everyone except in Goshen is covered in boils.
And even Pharaoh, and he still says no.
Well, yeah. He's a little bitch.
Pharaoh needs to be 5150 at this point because like if you're following him and all your livestock has died, you've had fly infestation, gnat infestation, dead frogs,
He's
the Nile turned to
tyrant. Blood. He won't give up his power. So then
God's like hailstorm.
He sends the hailstorm of the century. All of Egypt except Goshen is covered by hail, struck by lightning, like the worst thunderstorm in Egyptian history.
Crops destroyed.
Yeah.
Livestock, any livestock that was left outside, which was weird because I thought just earlier they said all the livestock was dead. So I'm like, continuity issue.
If you're going to commit, you can't do like 80% dead. You have to do full 100%
No, well, that's
dead.
what they said.
Yeah.
But then now they're like, if you left your livestock outside, but I was like, I thought you killed the livestock. So maybe we need to do a continuity pass of the Bible.
Couldn't be us.
Pharaoh does his same little song. And this is where I'm like, okay, Moses, you can't like leave and then pray. You have to like keep the hail going while you guys get out. And then once you're safely away, then you can say no.
Plague, another plague, another plague, another plague.
But so Pharaoh does the whole song and dance again where he's like, this hail sucks ass. He's like, Moses,
make it
come
go away.
on. Like, I will let you go. Like,
he's cucked by Pharaoh.
And at this point, even Pharaoh's officials are like, come on, man. Like, they're like,
please.
No one wants to say it to him, but they're like,
it's over for you. It's over for us.
They're going to like their others and they're like, you tell him. They're like, no, you. And then someone has to go up to him and be like, dude,
this is real. We can't do this.
You've got to just like let the Israelites go.
We can still like pretend our gods are real, but like
we can enslave. Like look around. There's a lot of people. Like we will find slaves.
They have other slaves.
Yeah.
Like but
back then it's like there's no shortage of people that you can enslave.
Yeah.
So like, don't worry, they say to him. They're like, we will get you like a whole new crop of slaves tomorrow, but you've got to get these people out of here. We are all suffering.
And he's like, no.
Pharaoh goes, I'll make a deal. He goes back to deal or no deal with Moses. And he goes, only the men can go, but all the other women and everyone else have to stay. And Moses is like, that simply won't work. It has to be all of us.
For nothing.
And we all have to go.
And he's like, no.
And then God's like, fine.
Here come the locusts.
Locust time.
They ruin all the crops. They devour, like, they eat everything.
Yeah.
And
then
Pharaoh this time is like, this fucked me up. So he's like, please, I pray that your God forgives me. I'm so sorry. He goes, Moses, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But then the exact same thing happens again, where as soon as Moses prays the locusts away, Pharaoh's like, he doesn't even bother FaceTiming him. He just texts like, LOL, no.
Moses is a simpleton.
Moses has poor communication skills. Like if I were Moses, it would maybe take one time where I would be like, look, here's what's going to happen. God already told me this. You're going to be really hard-headed. You're going to want to say no. Bad shit's going to keep happening and it's all going to lead up to your son being killed. And we can play this whole game. We can go back and forth all day through 10 plagues, or you can just let us go now.
You know what? This is my theory, my deep theory reading through this is that Moses, because he didn't grow up under like the horror of slavery, he grew up in like luxury. He doesn't really get it. So if he grew up like everyone else did, he'd be like, fuck you. I'm going to rain hell down on your ass. I would be exacting, like Aaron is more exacting. Mm-hmm. But because he still is like, he grew up with Pharaoh being like the one all be all, he's like a little deferential. So he's a little cucked by the royals because he grew up in their presence. So I still think he's like, I think if he had grown up with the pain and suffering of his people, he'd be more like unrelenting.
Like a hardened fighter.
But he's kind of like, he's privileged.
Well, he's also like doesn't have to deal with any of these plagues himself. So he's really never had a hard day in his life.
No, he's literally like...
The hardest day of his life was getting put in a basket and then he was found by the princess.
Literally, he went out to a well. He killed a man, got away with it.
He's a murderer.
He's a murderer. Went out into sit by well, then got to like fuck a woman immediately and like get her pregnant. Mm-hmm. He's had a great life.
Then God is like, okay, I'm not fucking around anymore. Plague of darkness, go.
I like Plague of Darkness.
Yeah.
Everywhere in Egypt is just literally pitch black, and the only place that's not is Goshen again.
Then Pharaoh...
It's like Times Square.
It's like Times Square. Pharaoh calls Moses back, and he's like, okay, I've amended my deal points. Hear me out. You and all the people can go. You have to leave your livestock behind. And Moses goes... Not a hoof is to be left behind.
No hoof left behind.
No hoofs left behind. And Pharaoh's like, God, fuck you then. And also just don't come back here because next time you come back here, I'm going to kill you. I've had enough of you.
So this.
And then Moses is like, fine by me.
He's like, get ready, bitch. So Moses is like, you heard him. And God goes, it's time. God's been waiting.
He's been waiting to kill.
He's been, the plagues were him edging. Like he was like slowly stroking with all the plagues and he's about to bust with what he really wanted to do was annihilation.
He wanted
he wanted mass murder because that's what God loves.
So Moses is like, tells Pharaoh, he goes like, the first firstborn son curse is going to happen. We were teasing it for a while, but it's like, here, it's going to happen. And Pharaoh's like, whatever, get out.
He goes, make my day, bitch.
So then this is like where Passover comes from.
He goes, at midnight, every firstborn son in Egypt, and including humans and animals, will die by like the angel of death.
But this is men only, right?
Yeah. And unless you take a lamb and kill it and then use its blood to mark your doorway, God will come into your house.
It'll pass over your house.
It'll pass over your house, but if you don't have it, it'll come into your house during the night and kill your child in its sleep.
And if you happen to have like a cat that is the firstborn cat of the breed, that's going to.
That cat, and we know Egyptians loved cats. They love dogs.
I don't like this. I don't like this
it either.
plague.
Mm-mm.
And God gives like lots of parameters for like how to eat the lamb.
It's basically like the story of it's Passover. It's like the Seders. Like it's kind of all like.
And they have to eat unleavened bread for 7 days. God really is like anti-yeast.
Yeah.
He's like really hates yeast.
He goes, do not eat the meat raw or boiled in water. Roast it over a fire with the head, legs, and internal organs.
God's in a place of top chef, right? He's like, no yeast. He's like, here. He goes, this is Iron Chef. God's like, your ingredients are lamb. And then you have like 30 minutes to make a delicious roast lamb dish.
God's like a particular gay.
He really is. This is the first. He's a gay in many phases. This is his like chef gay phase.
And then his like
soon he'll
interior,
by the end he's in a full interior design fashion
onyx.
gay.
No one loves onyx more than God.
So the plague comes through. It kills literally every firstborn son in Egypt. The air is filled with the wailing of like mothers. I'm also like, what did they do to deserve this? They literally did nothing.
Well, but
women have no rights.
I know, not the women, but like, well, but they were complicit in slavery.
But like, you're telling me you're just like a random Egyptian woman.
But you could have,
what if you're like just a servant?
Yeah, that's true.
You're just like a servant.
Or a cat.
Yeah.
What did you do as a cat? Why, as a god, are you killing animals?
I'm just saying.
I remember in the movie, this scene freaked me out.
It was really scary.
And then obviously Pharaoh's heir to his throne is dead. So he's like, crying.
Goes, get out.
He goes, get out!
And then the Egyptians are so scared of the Israelites at this point. They're just like, the Israelites are like, can we have gold and silver? And they're like, yeah, take it. Oh, you want these earrings? Like, here, take this. This is a little vase that I have. It's gold. And they just load them up with gold and silver.
They plundered.
And they like plundered, but like, really, they just asked, and everyone was so freaked out by them. They were like, take it.
Take it all. It's okay.
Then they leave. It's about 600,000 people total on foot.
That's wild.
It's a big crowd. That's like Woodstock.
The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, these are the regulations for the Passover meal. No foreigner may eat it. I was like, oh.
But you know what?
I would probably go to Seder.
I'd probably bounce with the Israelites at this point too.
Oh, me too. I'd be like, look.
Egypt sucks now. Egypt really flamed out.
Yeah, and if my dick wasn't circumcised, I'd be like, I'll go do it.
Just do it.
A temporary resident or a hired worker can't eat. Like, there's all these crazy parameters. It must be eaten inside the house.
Yeah, Iron Chef God Edition goes on and on to talk about all the Passover.
With some like xenophobia mixed in.
Yeah, it's like, okay, thanks for the details. Again, I think you could have left it out of this Bible, and we would have gotten the same thing out of it. The Israelites are on the move now.
But before they left, Moses fulfilled Joseph's promise and dug up his skeleton.
They have the bones with him.
Yeah.
So they're on the move. They've got Joseph's bones. Like, they are moving and shaking. They're like, God, Moses took you fucking long enough.
I just love imagining Joseph like this like crazy old man at the end being like, take my bones. Like, he just wanted to
get
leave.
my bones out of here.
And so God leads them to the Red Sea.
And the Lord guides them. He's like a pillar of a cloud by day. And then at night, he's a pillar of fire, which that would be cool. It's like Burning Man.
It is.
They're basically in like full Burning Man vibes.
Black
They're
Rock.
Like, get us to the playa. They go, are you coming to the playa? They're covered in like gold jewelry. They have like
saxophone mobiles. Like, they have like a car that's like a trumpet. Like,
they're like the fucking playa.
Hello.
See you on the playa.
See you on the playa, doll.
I'm getting the fuck out of Egypt.
So Pharaoh,
God tells Moses, he's like, have the Israelites like kind of march around in a circle and like they camp here, and now they're going to camp here to make the Egyptians be like, these idiots don't know what they're doing. And then Pharaoh
gets pissed.
He is furious.
He has dead child trauma.
He goes,
he's Manchester by the Sea.
What have I done? He goes, get them back. Get them all back here. It's over for these hoes.
He literally says, who's going to do our services? That's his quote in the Bible.
His friends are like, trust us. They go, look around. We'll enslave all the women if you want us to. Like, just let's let them go. And Pharaoh will not do it.
And someone's like, I'll be your slave, Pharaoh. And then one of the other priestesses goes,
just don't.
Don't do that. Do less.
God then has Moses part the Red Sea.
Well, so Pharaoh gets his little gay crown on, and he gets 600 of his best men in chariots, and they go searching. They go to Black Rock City to break up Burning Man.
Yeah.
They said it's time for the festival to end.
Mm-hmm. We've had quite enough of these shenanigans.
So they reach the sea, and they're like, fuck. Where we need to go is they can like see land on the other side. They're like, we have to get across.
Yeah, and the Israelites are like, Moses, you've really outdone yourself. Not only did you put us through hell and back, but now we're going to just get captured by these Egyptians who are going to make our lives hell once we get back to like slavitude.
So God tells Moses to stick his staff out, and he parts the sea, and everyone is just like, God, it's like, every time we doubt you, Moses, you crazy bastard.
Not gonna lie, you're eating with this.
He ate with the parting.
He ate with the parting.
So they go through the sea, and it's like a big. They're just having Burning Man like in the Red Sea.
Imagine Burning Man,
a traveling parade.
Imagine a sea on both sides of you, the ocean, like a full sea, walls, like skyscraper, and you're partying in the middle. Has got to be so fucking lit.
They're all like on Molly, and like they're all on pink cocaine.
Yeah, they're smoking cigs, chain smoking.
There's like a deep house, like after hours DJ. Like
I'm like riding a donkey through like topless, like smoking cigs, raging, sticking my tongue out, and people are putting like acid on it.
So
I'm like, you can see the sharks in the sea. And there's like sharks like swimming around on the seawalls. It's fucking trippy. I go, were you there?
Someone's tripping and they put their hand in it, and then their hand gets bitten off by a shark and screams, but everyone laughs.
Yeah, everyone's like, that's fucking funny. Cool.
And then
everyone's like, for years and years, they're like, were you at Red Sea Playa? Yeah. And they were like, yes, I was fucking there. Legendary dog.
I was 12.
Legendary.
So naturally, the Egyptians get there and they're like, what the fuck? Pharaoh's like, God damn it, he's done it again. Go get them. So they run. They all like, God's like.
They ride the chariots. God is behind the playa in like a cloud pillar, just like dusting, shimmying to like confuse the Egyptians. And the Egyptians, Pharaoh is true crazy. He goes, get in there and get him.
Get them! He's fully in this moment. I'm imagining him with like, he has like pressed on like claw nails on, and he has one of those tall warrior Egyptian hats, and he has like wing-tipped, like he's
coal eyeliner to the gods.
He is cunt. He's like
and then all the Israelites, God's like, get to the end of the sea.
Yeah, they're all like still. He's like, okay, I like this party, but like you have to go because they're coming, and I have to like finish my grand finale of annihilation.
So everyone the Israelites get to the other side, and the Egyptians are like all in the middle of the sea, and
not having Burning Man.
God's literally like, and the sea just goes and swallows them.
They all die.
I was like,
that was cool.
God served cunt in Exodus. He continually serves cunt.
And then there's like this whole like weird moment where like the first song ever in recorded Bible history comes about. The Israelites all get together and they like create a song together about the Egyptians drowning.
It was not a great song. I didn't think that the lyrics were that great.
In the greatness of your majesty, you threw down those who opposed you. You unleashed your burning anger. It consumed them like stubble. By the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up. The surging waters stood up like a wall. The deep waters congealed in the heart of the sea.
Wait, you have to sing it like a Gaga song.
in the greatness of your majesty, you threw those down who opposed you. You unleashed your burning anger and it consumed them like stubble. And then this becomes like the number one top 40 hit. And like, it's a runaway hit. Like the entire like 600,000 person population. It's the most popular song ever. Miriam sings it.
Yeah, they continue their like celebrations into like the first Coachella, which is just this song because no other songs have happened yet.
Moses' and Aaron's sister Miriam is like the Joan Baez of like the Israelites, and she takes the tambourine out and she goes full Florence. She goes, the surging water stood up like a wall. The deep waters congealed in the heart of the sea, and nostrils piled on. Yeah, yeah. And everyone's.
She goes, the dog days are over. Can you hear the Red Sea? 'Cause here she comes.
This is her like classic pop line. Both horse and driver had hurled into the sea. I was like, damn.
Miriam is just like full ladies of the canyon with her tambourine, and everyone parties and like sings this song.
But the party stops pretty soon.
Yeah,
well, first they get to Elim. They get to a place called Marah. It's in the desert of Shur, and there's the water. They have water, but it's so bitter that no one can drink it. So God goes, throw that piece of wood right there into the water. And Moses goes, okay. So he throws it in, and then the water immediately becomes drinkable. And then he goes, now go on to that oasis over there. And they go to this place that has 12 springs and 70 palm trees, which sounds really nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
They go to like the
like a resort.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they're like, we're so hungry. Like we just partied like crazy, but we realized we have no food.
They're like, Miriam's still going. She's like,
run fast for your mother.
Like, Miriam. And they go, hey, even back in Egypt, we were slaves, but we always had food.
So like, what the fuck?
He's like, this sucks.
And then God's like, all right, I'm going to provide manna and quail for you. So every day when they woke up, they thought that there were like ice chips on the ground, but it was really bread. And then he would like give them quail so they could
that was so random.
Kill the quail. It was really random, but cool.
Also, God keeps the word grumbling keeps getting used. Like the whole population was grumbling to him.
It doesn't take much for them to fully turn on Moses. Like as soon as one thing goes wrong, they're like, what the actual fuck? They're like, at least we could eat back in Egypt as slaves.
So the bread, it's basically like on the seventh, he describes the Sabbath, like on the seventh, like you'll feast and no one can work.
Yeah, he's like, I'll give you bread every day and you can only take as much as like you need. Don't take any more than you need. But on the sixth day, you can take extra because like I won't send it on the seventh day. On the seventh day, you just like eat what you have and chill. But at any day that wasn't the sixth day that they like gathered bread and quail and made it, like if they tried to like stock up or store food, it would just like become maggot infested.
Yeah.
But not on the seventh day.
So they go to a place called Rephidim and they're out of the desert of Sin, which is literally what it was called. And there's no water there. And the people are like, fuck you again. Like, I know you got us that bread that one time, but like you still are screwing up. Like you need to, why can't you stop being a flop? And at this point, Moses is like, I'm 100. I talk to a bush. I'm in hell.
I'm so old. Every day is a new hallucination. The voice in my head literally will not stop.
And they're like, we don't care. We want water. So God says, okay, take a rock and strike it and water will come out. So he does it in front of the elders.
Everyone's like, hell yeah.
And then Moses needed to have like a little moment. So he called the place Massa and Meribah to memorialize the Israelites being annoying.
A little bitch move.
Then these people called the Amalekites.
The Amalekites?
Amalekite, yeah.
They come and attack.
This was cool.
So these people come to attack the Israelites, but then Moses is like standing on like a hill somewhere and he's like tells someone to go like fight on his behalf. Mm-hmm. And when he's standing on the hill, like if he puts his hands up like this, the Israelites are like winning the fight. But if he gets tired and puts his hands down, then the Amalekites win the fight.
I was like, God.
So then, and it's also like he is 100. So at the end, he's like sitting there with like two people holding up his
Aaron
hands.
and her.
Yeah. So that Israel can like win this strange battle.
So they finally do. And then he goes, write this on a scroll to like remember it.
So Moses sent his wife and sons to visit Jethro. And then Jethro comes back to meet Moses in the desert and like see what he has going on. And he's like,
looks good.
You're doing pretty good. He goes, tell me more about like how you're working this out. He's like, it seems like you sit around and a lot of people come up to you all day asking you questions and like wanting you to talk to God for them. Like, it seems like you're really like overworking yourself.
So he sort of suggests like, why don't you create like councils all over the society? Like appoint men, of course, to be like sort of have jurisdictions over certain populations. Which is like kind of the building block of like, I think like the Jewish religion is like rabbis was just coming later really, but like sort of like
judges who will like settle disputes or problem solve.
He's basically like, you should have this society, not just like you sitting in a tent, like being annoyed.
Yeah. And Moses is like, okay, yeah, you're onto something. So he does implement all of Jethro's suggestions.
So then God calls Moses up to Mount Sinai. And when he's up there, God tells Moses, okay, earth is mine. Everything you see is mine. But just letting you know that you and the Israelites are my chosen people. So like you guys are the ones, but know that you're on borrowed land because I own the earth.
I'm the head honcho.
I'm the head bitch. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, God decided to like descend onto Mount Sinai. So he's just like
a cloud
holding court at like the top of the mountain in kind of a cloud, like gas plasma formation. And he's like, Moses and Aaron are the only ones allowed up here to like hang in the God cloud.
And he goes, everyone else has to stand at the base of the mountain in freshly washed clothes. And you can't.
They can't even touch.
But you can hear me yelling at Moses and Aaron. But like if you come on the mountain, you're going to fucking die.
Yeah. So at this point, God gives Moses the 10 commandments, which are, you shall have no other gods before me.
You shall
not make idols. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath, keep it holy. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Don't covet.
And you shall not covet, which all seem like pretty decent shalls.
Then God demands Moses to make his people build altars to him and make burnt offerings.
Well, so then I didn't realize this, but like those are the 10 commandments, like what we all know as the 10 commandments. But then God issues like pages and pages of sub commandments. Like,
well, yeah, this is wild. So I think the most insane one to me is God specifies the Israelites are allowed to have servants, other Israelite servants, but they have to be set free after 7 years. And if a man sells his daughter as a servant, she's never to be set free. And if she gets married into the family she's serving, she'll be considered fully in their family and a daughter of the man who runs the family. So she has like to be taken care of. But basically a woman is not free.
Yeah. But I think there was something if they ask, it was like if they ask nicely, they can go. There's a lot of like, if you murder someone, basically God was like really a huge fan of the death penalty. It was like, if you murder someone, like he loved the death penalty.
I was crying at a personal injuries list.
There's personal injuries.
He's
there's
like a lawyer.
There's a lot of servant rules. Then like he issues a lot of like slave regulations where he's like, if you beat your slave and they die, then you're punished. But if you beat your slave and they live, it's cool because they're your property. So it was like, that seems like it would not be in line with the 10 Commandments.
So a few of the rules are anyone who strikes a person with a fatal blow is put to death. However, if it is not done intentionally, so like manslaughter, they can flee to a place I will designate, so they can go into like exile. If anyone schemes and kills someone deliberately, that person is to be taken from my altar and put to death.
Death penalty.
Anyone who attacks their mother or father is to be put to death.
Menendez brothers.
And then anyone who curses their father and mother is to be put to death.
He's like, if you punch a pregnant woman and her baby dies, then you have to like, it's an eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm. And then if she gives birth prematurely because you hit her and there's no serious injury, the offender must be fined whatever the woman's husband demands. So not even the woman.
No. If a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed.
My least favorite one is this.
I know.
If a bull gores a man or woman to death, that bull is to be stoned to death, and the meat must not be eaten. But the owner of the bull will not be held responsible. So I was like, every bull just went, why am I in it?
Now, why am I in it?
If the bull has... But then, if the bull has a habit of goring and the owner has been warned and has not kept it penned up, that bull is to be stoned and its owner is also to be put to death. So it's basically like if you
death penalty reigns supreme.
Control your bull or you're going to die.
I thought your favorite would surely be do not allow a sorceress to live.
Oh, that was absolutely my favorite of all. No,
I just threw that in
was
there.
My least favorite, the bull one. Because I'm like, why does a bull, like, don't
why are the bulls getting punished?
Bulls.
That's their nature.
I loved don't let them.
Do not allow a sorceress to live. They're just randomly thrown in there and just in the middle, plugged in. They weren't even talking about sorcery.
Again,
sorcery isn't even mentioned.
Again, leave and not sorcerer, sorceress.
A sorceress.
Leave sorceresses out of this.
So I had a few thoughts while I was reading all of this, and I was like, So Number one, I was like, do the Egyptians have any sort of written records of these plagues happening? Because I thought, we know like quite a bit about Egyptians.
Maybe, I don't know.
They don't.
I don't think they do.
They don't. And part of that, some places in Egypt are like lower altitude than the others. So then there was like water damage and stuff. And they just like have never been able to find any records of the plagues, which I just thought was interesting.
Well, I feel like they probably wouldn't want a record of it.
No, I feel like in a society like that, you're always making records of everything that happens. There's always like someone that does it. So I would think that if all this shit happened, like there would at least be like hieroglyphs of it or something, like, because it's stories.
And they were so organized.
Yeah, it's like, that's like if 9/11 happened and the government was like, no one wants to remember this. Everyone remembers shit like that. It's like human nature to like write it down and keep track.
It's almost like this didn't happen.
You're like, no, don't record it. We'll just forget about it.
I don't know, unless like they're embarrassed or like ashamed of like.
No, it would be like it's lore.
Yeah,
you always record the lore.
Well,
that's what the whole Old Testament is lore.
I feel like there was like probably like some sort of climate disasters that happened that were like blamed on like. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's probably like because there's not smoke without fire. There's probably some event like a plague or a famine or like that they blamed on like the Israelites or something. You know what I mean? Like there could have been some stuff. And I actually watched something about like the Red Sea could have been some sort of like tidal thing where like there was like basically like a sandbar. Mm-hmm. And they saw that as like a parting of the ocean.
Yeah, I just thought like, I wonder if any of this lines up with like other recorded things in history, but
I think a lot of the Bibles they believe.
I mean, yeah. I think also over time, that's like part of the critique of it too, is that like, because the Bible and God will get into it more, but like explicitly gives like instructions of like what land belongs to the Israelites. And I'm like, but you didn't have like, these things weren't these things back then. So like, how is it now?
I think every religion like finds ways to.
But people's critique of the Old Testament and the Torah are like that it's been added to or like manipulated for so long. Like, do not allow a sorceress to live is like the most random thing. That feels like it was added like years later.
Well, I think there's a quote from the Bible that might be, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live."
I think it's do not allow a sorceress to live.
Because in the movie Carey, Margaret White goes, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," and then she like before she decides to kill her daughter.
Anyone who has sexual relations with an animal is to be put to death. Well, that I could get down with. That, yeah.
Don't take advantage of widows or the fatherless.
Yeah.
And don't gossip.
Do not mistreat or oppress a foreigner, for you were foreigners in Egypt. Yeah, and then God says, I will establish your borders from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea and from the desert to the Euphrates River. I will give into your hands the people who live in the land and you will drive them out before you. And I was like, that seems convenient.
Moses then presented the book of the covenant to his people, and then he spritzed them with blood, which I love.
Yeah,
him and Zipporah are all about going.
They love like a blood show. Then like Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu and 70 elders go up to the mountain and like party with God. And everyone else is down there being like, what the fuck?
For 40 days and 40 nights.
Then, well, they party with God first. Then God kicks everyone out. And he's like, Moses, you and me afters, let's do this. And then
they have like a Coke conversation for 40 days.
Yeah, Moses just disappears and stays at the top of Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. And then God in their like Coke haze, God's like writing. He's like, I've got to write this down. I've got to write all of this down, and makes the covenant, like all the covenants that he just told Moses, he puts it on 2 tablets and he gives it to Moses and is like, here, take this now.
He's like, gold, silver, bronze, scarlet yarn, fine linen, goat hair. And then he goes, spice, incense, onyx, gems.
While they're in the middle of this like Coke binge.
Haze.
God literally starts giving Moses instructions on like how to make like an ark to store the covenants in, how to make a table that he wants, how to make a lampstand.
Yeah, there's so many lampstands. I'm like,
so many lamps.
Excuse me. He also, my favorite random moment was when he makes Aaron wear like a thing on his forehead, like a plate on his forehead that says "Holy to the Lord" as a reminder of guilt. I think Aaron's like the first rabbi because he instructs men who will kind of be his like emissaries on like they have to wear certain tunics and turbans and like, you know what I mean, and like strings. And I think it's like the beginning of like rabbinical tradition. But
God is like really getting like keyed up on top of this mountain. And he's like, okay, you're going to make this table. Then you're going to like make a lampstand, but you have to make them out of gold. And then he's like, gold. I love gold. Oh my God, that reminds me. And then he gets an idea for a tabernacle. And this is where he goes full interior design gay.
Yeah.
He goes, make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of finely twisted linen in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn with cherubim woven into them by a skilled worker. All the curtains have to be the same size, 28 cubits long, 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together and do the same with the other 5. Make loops of blue material along the edge and end of the curtain in one set and do the same with the curtain in the other set. Make 50 loops on the curtain and 50 loops on the end curtain of the other set with the loops opposite each other. Then make 50 gold clasps and use them to fasten the curtains together so that the tabernacle is a unit. Make curtains of goat hair for the tent over the tabernacle, 11 altogether. All 11 curtains are to be the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Join 5 of the curtains together into one set and the other 6 in the second set. Fold the 6 curtains double at the front of the tent. I was like, damn. There's
she is starting
right now.
Moses is literally like writing it like on. He is writing everything down. He's trying to keep up, and God is just on a tear.
Then he gives like instructions for an altar. Then he gives instructions for like a courtyard. So he's getting into like landscaping.
Yeah, the courtyard was absolutely
God is literally
hilarious.
me playing The Sims.
Yeah, he is.
He's in Sims mode.
I love 5 curtain loops, but the opposite side are 6 curtain loops, and you tie them together with scarlet yarn.
He goes, for the entrance to the courtyard, provide a curtain 20 cubits long, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer with 4 posts and 4 bases.
I love that. As good as imagine like an embroiderer did.
The embroiderer.
Yeah.
All posts around the courtyard have to have silver bands and hooks and bronze bases. The courtyard has to be 100 cubits long and 40 cubits wide.
He was on math.
He kind of was
This is
messed out.
math. This is math.
Then he gets into like priestly garments.
Yeah,
and like explains all the garments. He goes full Project Runway gay.
Yeah, he's
like Christian
he's Tim
Siriano.
Cook.
He goes, he wants like a breast piece for Aaron. He goes, fashion a breast piece for making decisions, the work of skilled hands.
I think he kind of has a crush on Aaron.
Make it like the ephod. Aaron sounds hot.
Yeah, Aaron's like cool and has a big dick.
Make it like the ephod, gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and a finely twisted linen. It's square, it span long and a span wide and folded double.
I like this part. It's skillfully woven waistband. It's to be like it, of one piece with the ephod and made with gold, and one with blue and purple and scarlet yarn, and each with finely twisted linen. Take 2 onyx stones and engrave them from the names of the sons of Israel in order of their birth. 6 names from one stone and the remaining 6 in the other. Engrave the names of the sons of Israel on the 2 stones where a gem cutter engraves a seal. Then mount the stones in gold filigree settings and fasten them in the shoulder pieces of Aaron and the sons of Aaron. I love Aaron.
He's really adorning Aaron.
He's like, and I love Aaron has to wear a plate on his forehead too that shows guilt.
4 rows of precious stones. First row, carnelian, chrysolite, and beryl. Second row, turquoise, lapis, lazuli, and emerald. Third row, jacinth, agate, and amethyst. Fourth row, topaz, onyx, and jasper. He's a real crystal gay.
He loves crystals. He's like Dina Manzo and Caroline's like gay brother Jamie.
He really is. They're also like, this goes on and on and on. All these instructions.
Well, okay,
chapters.
So the real cool part. This was the most compelling part to me. This really was freaky. So in the time that God and Moses are like peeing on Mount Sinai, the Israelites down below are like, we're not sure if our leader will ever return because he's been up in the cloud. Like maybe God took him into heaven. Like we're never going to see this.
It's been over a month.
It's been over a month. We're bored. We feel lost. They're like, we're lost.
They're like, we partied so hard and like we had so much fun. Remember like the Red Sea rave? Like that was fun.
He's like,
now what? We're sitting at the base of this mountain.
And they're like, some of us have been talking about maybe like establishing other gods, like just to like worship, you know? And it's like just for fun. And Aaron's kind of like, maybe.
He's like, that could be kind of cool.
So they build a golden calf. And then Aaron sees the calf and he's like, that's kind of cunt. And they're like, let's make burnt offerings. And they have a big party and they all like fuck and get wasted and like have an orgy. And God on his meth binge is suddenly like, wait a minute, what's going on?
What are you doing down there?
He goes down on a cloud and he comes back and he goes, you will not believe what your fucking people are doing down there. He goes, you need to go set them right.
He goes, what the fuck? I'm going to kill all of them for this. And Moses is like, no, don't kill them.
Please. He's like, I'm going to start over.
Don't kill them. You're so sexy. And then God's like, okay, fine. I won't kill them. But you go down there and like deal with them.
And he goes, so Moses goes down the mountain with the tablets and he throws them at them.
Yeah, he sees everyone partying and like worshiping this like calf made out of their earrings.
Cool.
Whatever.
Imagine seeing this like old scary man coming down from like the clouds. I'd be like, fuck, he's back.
Moses is away ranting and raving, throwing his like rod around.
He burns the golden calf statue.
He grinds it into dust and then makes everyone drink it.
That was like, damn.
Creepy.
But still the people don't listen and they continue to rave to golden God. So Moses rallied the Levites.
And he's like, go kill them all.
So 3,000 people get killed.
So they just like slaughter 3,000 people that were like calfing it up.
He did a 9/11. He
did. He slaughtered the burners.
Mm-hmm. So like Miriam was probably like, fuck. Like those are my friends, but he's my brother. So I have to like, she puts the tambourine away.
Yeah, she's no more songs for a while.
So after that, everyone's like, okay, we will worship your God.
Yeah, Moses goes back up to the Lord at the top of the mountain and he tattles and he's like, they were doing that calf. And like, then God strikes them with a plague.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord and Moses now are playing like kind of sick games.
Yeah.
On the mountain.
He goes, tell the Israelites, quote, you are a stiff-necked people. And if I were to go with you even for a moment, I might destroy you. Now take off your ornaments and I'll decide what to do with you.
And then Moses is like, why can't I ever see your face? Like, I've never even seen what you look like. I'm just like hanging out in a cloud. And God's like, I'll show myself to you, but you'll never see my face because you can't handle my gorgeous face. So like, I'll just show you my ass.
He shows him his whole.
He sends whole pics. So Moses stays on the mountain for another 40 days and nights, and he writes a whole new set of 10 commandments because he broke the other ones when the golden calf happened.
And when Moses comes back down, his face was apparently so radiant that everyone was really freaked out.
Everyone was like, did you have work done? Like, you're looking rested.
But classic Moses, like so dramatic. He's like, oh, I need a veil. No one can handle my face.
Yeah, Moses got like a chemical peel. Yeah. He got like a full facelift.
What's that
laser
thing
resurfacing.
Called? The cool, no, Celsius?
CO2.
Not Celsius.
Clear and brilliant.
The thing that doctor you go to does that like everyone gets, it's like incredible.
RF microneedling. Mm-hmm. Morpheus. He got Morpheus 8.
Moses got Morpheus.
Moses spent 2 months getting like 8, like Morpheus 8 every other week.
He comes down and he's like this. Hi.
Glowing.
And everyone's like...
He has a mouth full of veneers.
Yeah, he's like... Everyone's like, fuck. And he's like, I'll wear a veil. Don't worry. You all can't handle this.
He's in a place of veil.
Smiling weird.
Then he tells everyone, he's like, look, I was up on the mountain communing with God... And he gave me all these instructions and like slides over the like building instructions for the ark, the tables, the robes, the curtains. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you guys have to build all this. And everyone's like, okay. Now they're like, well, you killed 3,000 people. So we are just going to do what you say, I guess. Yeah. So they donate all their belongings and services. God, when they were up on the top of the mountain having a P&P, was like, oh, by the way, like there are 2 gays who can do all the embroidery and all the like woodworking. Like I'll find them when you get back down there. Yeah. And he basically introduces him to like Aiden.
He introduces him to homosexuality in the art world.
And Oholiab. And they are brought in as like the designers.
They're top
They have
designers.
one Project Runway.
They're top workers.
And everyone makes the tabernacle. They all work together. They make the ark. They make the table, the lampstand, the altar of incense, altar for burnt offerings, a water basin, and the courtyard.
Landscaping.
Then Moses like inspects everything and he's like, this looks great.
And then God comes down and
Then he just like swarms the tabernacle in cloud mode and he's just like swarming the tabernacle day and night, and everyone's like...
So the end of Book of Exodus is just the Israelites just sitting there going, oh.
Just like in their house, like peeking out to see if God is still in cloud mode over this tabernacle.
And God's literally just going, ah!
He's like...
Then that's it.
Exodus... I'd be pretty pissed if I was like a slave and then in the desert.
Yeah, me too.
And then dealing with like old Moses.
Old Moses. I mean,
plastic
Aaron,
surgery Moses.
You know, Moses was jealous of Aaron because everyone was like, Aaron was always with us. Like, he's hotter. He's just more naturally like.
He like let them have the calf for a little bit.
He's more gifted with people.
Mm-hmm.
Moses is like the big ideas guy. But he's like not really good with people because he was sort of like a weird rich boy.
Now,
Moses is neurodivergent.
I was going to say, Jesus is a descendant of Moses, no?
I don't know.
I think that was like Moses, Abraham, Joseph.
I think Moses was just like, I think there are a few messianic figures and Moses was like, Noah, Moses.
No, Jesus is not a descendant of Moses. Okay, cleared that up real fast. Wait, you know what? Also, I was like, where is this damn Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah, Mount Ararat.
No.
Where?
Guess what? Guess where they are saying it is. You'll never guess. It's a real plot twist. Ethiopia.
Really?
Yeah. Allegedly,
Cool.
the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Ark. I thought you meant, for some reason, I thought you said Noah's Ark.
No, the Ark of the Covenant. The
Yeah,
the big,
the
beautiful Ark chest that they put the
idea.
tablets in.
It's in Ethiopia?
These
Is that it right there?
but I don't think it is.
I'd go see that though, even if it was fake.
Well, people are really not, they're, I think, kind of unclear on where it is. I think it was looted from like
Roman.
a Jewish location.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Ethiopian Orthodox Church was claiming that it, like, they had it. But I think then there was like a big slaughtering of people who like died defending it.
Wow.
And then no one has ever like looked in it. So I think what was there was just like an empty box. I don't think anyone really knows where it is, but like the last place that it was like that people were like, it's here, was in Ethiopia randomly.
Whoa.
At like an Christian Orthodox church.
Well, that's like, isn't that, then you start getting into like the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Like the raiding
But these
from like
relics,
the Inquisition. I know.
I'm just really interested. I think there's like a relic. Well, that's what makes me want to go to like Turin to see the Shroud of Turin. But there is, I think, like a supposedly like a piece of the cross or something like that in one of the churches in Rome.
There's also
which I'm like, couldn't you just be like?
Yeah, I remember also they found a tomb of a person on the tomb it's inscribed that his name was Adam, James, brother of Jesus. Like Jesus had a brother, which like, why wouldn't he have a brother?
Yeah.
You know?
Many mysteries.
Well, it was riveting. It was definitely darker. I mean, I knew it was going to be dark, obviously, because like slavery and that is like a very heavy thing.
Slavery, plagues.
But like, it was really like brutal.
It was heavy.
But
I'm glad to live in these times.
Me too.
When not having to deal with like millions of flies.
I know.
Frogs.
We have other things to deal with, but not like.
What plague would you choose?
To send or to receive?
To have to like go through.
Probably frogs.
I'd go maybe darkness.
Ooh, yeah, maybe darkness.
Just 3-day darkness feels kind of fun.
Like just chill and like.
And I was reading up
not anything with like water or like bugs.
not water turning to blood. Certainly not.
Yeah, but then darkness after a day, people get weird.
I know.
Then you're like at risk.
Then you need to
like,
get a gun.
Essayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people were like thinking that like a plague of darkness could have been interpreted like an eclipse or something like that.
Yeah, probably. That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like there were like maybe over hundreds of years there were like, or, you know, it could have been like 1 century. There just happened to be like.
And they didn't write it down because it was like.
It felt.
Run of the mill.
Yeah, but it was like maybe there was like a famine and then 10 years later there was like a locust, you know, crop failure. You know what I mean? And then things could have just been blamed on.
This was happening within, according to the Bible, though, like weeks of each other.
Yeah, but the Bible distills things, I think. They said the earth was created in 7 days.
I know, but then they have hundreds of years go by. And God maintains that it was 7 days. Actually, 6 days. 7th day was for resting.
6 days.
It was 6, and the 7th was the Sabbath.
No, I know. Just imagining God being like,
I did that in 6 days.
Yeah. So then he takes, he does a lot, and then he slows down on
he's inconsistent.
doing stuff.
He's like
he's all over the map.
He's a true narcissistic parent who gets like manic and gets things done and then kind of pulls back and like makes you want more.
Yeah. I'm on the fence.
I'm not really a fan of this God.
Me neither. There was a moment where he was gagging me in the Moses story where he was like,
I like him.
When he like chose him and he was like, there was a verse that was like, you don't have to do anything. Like you can just be still and I'll always like fight for you or something like that.
That's
and I was
cool.
like, that's sweet.
No,
but then he
moments.
like is killing firstborns and talking about killing ox.
No, there's moments where he slays and then there's moments where he
Nays.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed this gorgeous retelling of this sacred text.
This XXL Exodus.
And stay tuned next time for
Leviticus.
the book of Leviticus, which
I think is where God really starts going off about gay people.
yeah. So get ready for some good.
Get ready for some really old-fashioned homophobia.
The
courtesy of the oldest book in the world, the
courtesy
Bible.
of God. Take care and God bless.
Should we shout out the cult?
One of the dolls.
Teddy the Schnauzer and Tony and Mango's cult.
Alex Delisle.
Makeup Fresh.
Obviously.
Emily Vaughn.
Gina Sapienza.
Sarah Elizabeth from Boston.
Lucy from London.
Brooke Johansson.
Lilia Farrell.
It's Your Girl BB.
Gerd Queen of Brooklyn.
Brittany Weiss.
Danielle from the Brim.
Jessica Hernandez.
Mazel Tov Lols.
Mary.
Katie Sulin.
Mike Earhart.
Sharon Baum Realtor.
Timothy Shield.
Matthew Thomas.
Owsley Robinson.
Cheeseburger Bay.
Kathy West.
Kit Moore.
Hillary from Chicago.
Orlando.
Patron of the Farts.
David from Switz.
Nick Sedaris.
Mr. Brandon.
Emily.
Kim Lucas.
Drew from Toronto.
Katie the Sup Lawyer.
RJ.
Modern Counseling, McLean, Virginia.
And of course, Jeffrey Pratama. Bye.